Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you for sticking it out with me. Okay, I guess it is time we discuss Harry's visa application. For those few of you who do not know what it is all about, the director of the Heritage Foundation, Mike Howell, submitted a request on the 8th of March requesting records from DHS Customs and Border Protection, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, and the Office of Biometric Identity Management. Basically, they wanted Harry's visa application to see whether he answered questions on the application truthfully and or whether he received special treatment. By the 6th of June, the Heritage Foundation had made 3 requests, and the DHS has not responded, and the other 3 agencies rejected the request. The Heritage Foundation's request for a preliminary injunction was withdrawn yesterday after the DHS's reply, which went like this: "We can neither confirm nor deny the existence of any records relating to your request under Section 3. Exemption B6, exempt from disclosure personal or medical files and similar files, the release of which could cause a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy, blah, 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 blah." Okay, so I basically wasted my time yesterday. I followed the update in the Independent every 20 minutes or so, but I found it very frustrating and wanted to climb through the laptop and smack someone. So I eventually gave up and decided to back read it all today. Now, if there's one thing I absolutely hate, detest, and cannot stand, it is double speak or talking in circles around an issue. And although I 100% believe that the Heritage Foundation is right and should get the relevant information, I also think Mr. Dewey was too soft, too kind, too decent, and using way too much legalese. It was as if he wanted to pretend that he didn't really want Harry's stuff. Okay? Now, come on, guys. In my eyes, say what you mean and mean what you say. There is no sugarcoating this particular issue. Don't they get it? But they all try and soft soap old Harry, yet they still want the information. Doesn't work that way. If you want to go for someone, go for the jugular or don't go at all. You see, Mr. Huey and the Heritage Foundation are proposing that the case is not about, or at least not all about Harry per se, but that it is a sort of a test case against DHS, Homeland Security, to see whether they are actually doing their job according to the law, or whether they are or are not applying it fairly, and thus allowed Harry some advantages because of who he is. And with all due respect, Mr. Dewey and the Foundation is pussyfooting around and or do not know the fact. They sound like guys who watched a YouTube channel and decided to start the case based on that as evidence without going and doing a little more extra homework. The Foundation, for instance, or Mr. Dewey on their behalf, insists that the application is of immense public interest in light of Harry's confessions of past illegal drug use as a teenager and as an adult. Now, can you, my very sharp and brilliant subscribers, spot the mistake? Well, let me help you out. Based on this statement, the Heritage Foundation may very well lose the case, because in reality, no one cares about past use. Honestly, many people had a bit of a run-in with substances during their college or university days. But once they start their careers or plan and have a family, they turn away from those things. They abstain from it, and it becomes part of their history. So, for the sake of his application, it may have been expected that he disclose his past, but for us, for the public, it is of greater concern that we know whether his current use is a concern. And it irritates me that the press and now the Heritage Foundation are all shying away from talking about Harry's current use, which he has indeed publicly admitted to more than once on the Dr. Mattei talk and on the Stephen Colbert talk. Anyway, it appears that it is only the Australian media who do not give a rat's ass whether they offend the ginger whinger or not. So far, from all the headlines I've seen, it is only the Australian press who are actually translating what they read and hear truthfully, because it is only the Australian media who display headlines reading Prince Harry reveals ongoing drug use, fundamental part of my life, the heading reads. And of course, they are 100% correct. In an interview with Gabor Mate, Harry says, and I quote verbatim, I started doing it recreationally and then started to realize how good it was for me. So does that mean that Harry is no longer doing it recreationally, but instead all the time? That is what it sounds like. He also says, I would say it is one of the fundamental aspects of my life. Now, please note, he does not say it was a fundamental part of my life. No, he says it is a fundamental part of my life. Harry also admitted in his book in writing to rolling and smoking joints while staying in Tyler Perry's mansion right here in the United States of America at the age of 36, going on to 37. Anyway, so now if I had lived in the same town or I was a neighbor of Harry, that is what would have concerned me. Firstly, because whatever he is using, be it Coke, not the cola kind, or cannabis or mushrooms or whatever plant or pill, the question is, where is he getting it from? You see, whether cannabis is legal or not for personal use. Some of the stuff Harry spoke about is not legal. And what is legal is being regulated. Okay? So the concern for me, had I lived in Montecito, would have been, where is Harry getting his stuff? Because if it's not regulated or illegal, it means he is attracting a criminal element to Montecito in order to obtain his stuff. No, ladies and gentlemen, the Heritage Foundation needs to do their homework and come on stronger because, and I said this before, if they lose, the United States can just as well put a banner on their High Commission website saying, all users, abusers, and sellers welcome. Okay? I think this is the perfect example of why we are all getting sick and tired and fed up with the Harkles. If it was you or me, they, be it the Heritage Foundation or DHS, would have nitpicked until they found enough to kick us out and deport us. Thus, the joint at Tyler Perry's would have been enough to send us back on a plane to where we came from. And all the other shit Harry admitted to would have seen us in a rehab program or getting a huge fine or even a jail sentence. But not Harry. No, no, no. He effing does what he wants and when he wants to. He can call the American Constitution bonkers, lie on Oprah and Netflix. He can defame his father, the king, and his stepmother, the queen. He can bring frivolous court cases without evidence. He can get away with it all, time and time again. And that is what pisses the public off about Harry and Meghan. The fact that they are getting away with it, and not just getting away with it, but are actually getting paid for dishing up all this shit. And not only are they getting paid, they are also still the bearers of senior British titles and still on the royal website as senior members of the monarchy. And then people want to convince me that the king is done with Harry. Well, I don't believe it. I don't. As a matter of fact, I think Harry is still getting money from Daddy through the Daddy's Prince's Trust and Prince's Foundation offices in Washington, in my humble opinion. If the king was done with Harry, then he would have ensured that he lose his titles and his place in the line of succession and get them off the darn website. But no, they are still there. And while Harry is still there, the British public runs the risk of having a doped up, drug addict, lying, stealing, fraudulent king. Let that sink in, because Harry is fifth in line to the throne, and everyone ahead of him come from one household. Let that sink in. So if you think that the king is protecting Britain and the British people, no, he is not. Not as long as Harry is still in the line of succession. Anyway, I seriously digressed, so let's take a step back and go back to the Heritage Foundation and their case against DHS. So, DHS officials have now refused. Remember, last time the judge said it's not really something they should have come to him for. They should have sorted it out among themselves. DHS should have reacted to the Heritage Foundation, and he gave them until yesterday to react. Okay? Anyway, so the DHS officials have now refused to make Harry's visa application available to the Heritage Foundation, and they've now done so formally in the form of a letter. And that's why the request for the injunction to force them to react had now been withdrawn, because it has now become a moot point. They have now reacted. The Heritage Foundation went to court last week to try and force the Department of Homeland Security, to force them and speed up their response. Just like I said. Okay, Judge Nichols, like I said, have refused to issue that injunction, and they gave them until yesterday, the 13th. Okay, I'm just reading from the newspaper here. So basically, exactly what I said. On Wednesday, yesterday, Dewey, the attorney for the foundation, thus went to court, shared the letter from the DHS Senior Director Wolfrey, in which he refused to confirm or deny having Harry's papers on file. Okay, so where are we now? Now, this is where I'm a bit confused, because I thought, I was under the impression that if DHS reacted or they didn't react, the judge would make a ruling. In other words, he would rule as to whether they should make Harry's visa application available to the Heritage Foundation or not. But I misunderstood The only thing at question up until now was getting a reply from DHS. It had nothing to do, the judge wasn't going to rule on whether they should provide it. He was just going to rule on whether they should reply to the Heritage Foundation. So, very tedious. But I am a bit confused because some publications are stating that Judge Nichols will now have to rule on how to proceed with the case. However, others are stating exactly what I said now, that the Heritage Foundation will now have to go back and sue the Department of Homeland Security in a federal court. Remember, like I said, their previous action was for the judge to force DHS to respond. And now that they have responded, now what? I believe that now the Heritage Foundation will have to sue specifically for the disclosure of the actual information, if I understand it correctly. Anyway, I think it's such a darn long-winded way. And at the end of the day, would it even be worth it? Would it be worth for the Heritage Foundation to spend that kind of money? I don't know. In my opinion, under the current administration in the United States, it may not be. Anyway, we also saw Harry at the Warrior Games, smiling and flirting with some young volunteers and, in particular, some young girls, even giving a speech. Now I'm asking you, looking at the comments below the article, Americans are questioning, what is he doing there? Why is he exploiting veterans, American veterans, in a bid to stay relevant and make the news? None of the comments under the article are actually positive. And yes, well, deservedly so, and with good reason. So that brings up one question. Who invited him in the first place? Who gave him the podium to talk from? Seriously, folks, how is it possible to see polls in which Harry and Meghan's popularity ranks very, very low, and even in the negative numbers? Yet he is still invited to events, still given a platform to spew his vitriol from. I mean, he admits to being an addict. He admits to lying. He lies in public. Yet, an organization like this, like the Air Force, like the military, the American Air Force and the military, still invite him, still holds him up as an example. An example of what? I don't understand it. Why? Why are they doing it? Are people two-faced liars, just like Master Henry Wales and his wife Meganian? So guys, where do we go from here? Do we just accept that Harry is a liar, a drug addict, who will continue to defame the monarchy and the current and future king? Do we just accept that Harry will cheat and steal and embarrass Britain until the day he lays his head down? Do we just accept that there will never be justice and that it is a fact of life that there's one set of rules for them and another for us? Do we lie down and just accept it? Well, I personally find it very, very hard to do. But to fight it is also becoming extremely frustrating. Okay, guys, so once again, a bit of a rant, okay? And I apologize for the couple of expletives in my narrative. But really, unless I punch a wall, what do I do? What do you do? How do you feel? Please let me know in the comment section below. Okay, guys, so until we meet again on the next video, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.